coming home for the holidays. That can either be a beautiful thing or a terrible thing, but a lot of the times it can be really in between. So if you're someone out there who's feeling guilty about not really enjoying yourself or kind of having a tough time home for the holidays, you're not alone and this video is for you. Whether you have a really bad home life or a really good home life or somewhere in between, people are still human. People are going to screw up, people are going to make mistakes, and things aren't always going to be sunshine and rainbows. And yes, while there absolutely is a honeymoon phase for the first few weeks, or maybe even just the first few days that you're home, whether it be from college, moving abroad, whatever it is for the holidays, it can be really great. You feel like so excited to come home to all the comforts that you once knew, all of your bookshelves, the same sheets that you've had since you were a child, and many other things. However, something that I feel there's not enough advice about out there is how to deal with when things aren't so great when you're home for the holidays, when suddenly you step into a room and you feel every part of your old self coming back. That is really hard. So the question is, how do we cope with that? When we feel like our old selves, you revert right back to your 15-year-old self, and all of a sudden all the healing and all the work that you may have done feels like it's completely vanished. You feel like you have no control over your temper. You feel like you were so excited to come home as this new rebranded person who has grown and established themselves as an adult in their life, to having to go by someone else's rules, having to go by someone else's schedule, having to go by someone else's finances, even by someone else's temperament, especially if you have a parent that is really tough to be around emotionally. For example, if you have a parent who everyone else's mood in the household relies on whether or not they are in a good mood. So all of a sudden you go from building your own life and building yourself as a person to going back to walking on eggshells around other people. How do you deal with that? How do you prove to yourself that you have grown when you feel like you have no control over yourself at all in these situations? Understand that just because you make a mistake or something triggers you and reverts you back to who you are, the person that you grew out of, doesn't mean that you haven't made progress, okay? The progress is always there, regardless if you make a mistake. The fact that you're even acknowledging that there is a different way to cope with something when it triggers you is a sign of growth. Anger, upset, irritation, impatience are normal things, and don't let the people in your life around you tell you that just because you make one little mistake or you do something slightly similar to what you would have done, don't let them invalidate all the progress that you've made and all the growth you've accomplished, because all of that is still there. It's just our brain using a defense mechanism to defend ourselves. This one argument tactic, for example, is something that is something that you did a lot at home. So when you go back home, it makes sense. Going back home to somewhere that you've outgrown, like if you've changed as a person, going back somewhere you used to be in a different phase of your life is tough. So don't beat yourself up about that, because that is completely perfectly normal to feel kind of strange about it and not really sure what to do. So I think it's important to understand that you can still appreciate where you are right now, while it is a limited time and you're not always going to have this to go back to, whether it's good or bad. Take a moment to appreciate the good things when it gets hard. Gratitude is absolutely key here. But understand that when that person in your household that particularly gets on your nerves tries to bait you into arguments, to not engage, okay? Because now you have learned that you have grown. You have learned to recognize those behaviors, to recognize that baiting, to recognize those little things that you may not be okay with. Because unfortunately, if you're my age, I'm 20, and you're going back home to your parents, you do not have a say in how the household is run. Even if you do acknowledge something as good or bad and you try to bring that to the attention of the head of the household, that's not going to go well if you are in a bad situation. So unfortunately, while you can try to set boundaries as best as you can, sometimes it feels like navigating a minefield. And with the wrong parent, that one little statement, as respectful and boundary conscious as you make it, will be like a bomb, and it will just explode and turn into a whole thing. We have to kind of protect our peace in that way. Just choosing your battles would be my advice for the holidays, okay? If your mother is being super nitpicky about weight you may have gained or lost, do not engage, because that is baiting into an argument. And I promise you, whether the person saying that to you has good intentions or not, nothing from that argument's gonna come good. So I'm telling you, as tough as it is, especially if you're like me, I'm very, very hot-headed, and that's one of the things I've worked on the most while being away, is you just have to choose your battles. You have to disengage. You have to just try your best to go about your day and enjoy things and reconnect with friends maybe, and just not get triggered by those things. Not even not get triggered, but when you do get triggered by those things, you have to put some techniques into place on how to deal with it. And let me tell you, people that you live with, siblings, parents, grandparents, whoever it is, extended family, friends, they know you. So they know your triggers. And when an argument is happening or a heated moment is happening, they are going to know better than anybody the exact things to say to you that will make you literally lose your mind, or make you feel like you've been punched in the chest, or the wind has been knocked out of you, because they know you. But understand that when they do that, it's using the insecurities and the things you've confided in them about as a weapon against you. They don't mean what they're saying. They're using it to hurt you. Their brains know that they're saying exactly what they're saying because they want to hurt your feelings. So don't feel stupid for being hurt by that, okay? Regardless of how much you've grown, if someone says something that is really hurtful, it's going to hurt you. You're still a human being, whether you've read all the self-help books and listened to all the podcasts or watched all the videos or not. Those feelings are still valid, and you are still absolutely justified to be hurt by those things. But the question is, how we store it in ourselves, how we react to it, is what is going to make the situation better or worse. Unfortunately, in some situations, you have to let some comments just fly. They just have to fly right over you. You can't let them bother you. Not everything can penetrate your soul. I know it's really hard. The people that are in your life, all that time that you spent growing and changing, they didn't see that, okay? They just know who you were before, okay? They weren't there for the growth and everything. They were just there for the person you were before. So for the pattern recognition, when you come home and you say, oh, I've changed, and then you make a mistake and slip up like a human being and aren't this perfect, I'm changed person that you said you were, they're going to comment on that. And you can't, there's really nothing else for me to say other than you can't let it penetrate your soul. You cannot take it to heart. And while some of you might be saying, okay, but Isabella, they're people I care about. These people I care about their opinions in my life. Right. And I completely respect that, and I totally agree. However, there's a difference between when they're trying to give you real, genuine advice and when they're trying to hurt your feelings. And I feel like, for the most part, everyone can discern those moments between, oh, this person's trying to hurt me, and this person is genuinely concerned about my well-being and wants to help me. I think another thing about being home for the holidays, besides the people around you, is you kind of feel yourself reverting back to who you used to be. But like I said before, those people haven't seen all the growth that you've done. Only you know what you've been through, what you've accomplished, what you may have failed at, what you may have succeeded at. So they're just going based on the information they know. But if they were in your shoes and walked right alongside you and experienced everything you did, they would not be so quick to criticize you. But they haven't experienced it. So it is easier, because it's kind of like expecting someone to acknowledge something that they didn't know existed, okay? People make empty promises all the time saying they've changed, and then if something pisses them off and they start to act like their old self, of course someone's gonna not acknowledge that supposed growth, because while words are important, so are your actions. But again, it's really nuanced, because it's tough, because you're allowed to make mistakes, and sometimes things are going to trigger you, and you are going to revert to a way that you used to cope with it, because that's what's familiar. We talk about on this channel all the time pattern recognition in your brain. Your brain does everything it can to compartmentalize everything around it and turn it into patterns, because it's the only way that our brain can comprehend the way the world works, the fact that there's so much information out there in the world. That's like why when someone said, maybe your whole life someone has said this one hurtful thing to you, and every time you hear it, you cry. So naturally, even if you may not be insecure about that thing anymore, sometimes you'll hear someone say that one insult and it makes you burst out into tears, and you wonder, what the hell? I thought I was over this. And you may be over it. But again, it's the pattern, it's the brain, it's the conditioning. Those are conditions and patterns that we have to work on over time to get rid of, which is really hard. Progress is hard. You're a human being, and I don't care what terrible things someone may say to you, whoever it is in your family or your friends, trying to discredit your progress. I'm telling you, looking at you right now, I don't care what anybody says, your progress and your growth are real and valid. Okay? Regardless of what anybody tells you, regardless of how badly you may fuck up, you've still made progress. You are still growing as a person every day. The fact that you even clicked on this video proves that you have some kind of self-awareness about how you think you might screw up, or you have some awareness about the people in your household. And watching content like this is a first step to understanding yourself deeper and using those things to cope with everything around you and making yourself a better person, okay? I understand completely how hard it can be to go home for the holidays and be really, really nervous about how things are gonna go. Don't expect yourself to be perfect. You know, even under the watchful eye of some toxic people in your house, it can feel like that's what you need to be. As hard as it is, don't worry about their standards, okay? Hold yourself to your standards. Do everything you can to wake up and make yourself proud instead of everyone else around you, because that is going to be so exhausting if you spend your entire life trying to make other people proud. And I know how hard it is to not do that, okay? I completely understand. We have to try our very best to enjoy the beauty of the holidays. And yes, while we may get triggered and we may, walk into our bedroom and suddenly feel like all the things that we didn't even matter, it did matter, okay? Something I like to do when I think about my lack of progress is I love to make vision boards. Just last night, I had a few friends over and we made some beautiful vision boards together, and they really turned out great. I'm super happy with how they turned out, and I'm really excited to see what this year has to bring, and I have full faith that this is going to go really well. Even this channel, one of my goals for next year is to have 100,000 subscribers, and I absolutely believe I'm capable of it if I just keep working hard. I love to look back on my old vision boards and my old journals, because I can see, even if someone tries to manipulate me or gaslight me or tell me that I haven't changed at all, I can see the progress in what I wrote in my journal. I can see it on the goals on my vision board, the things that I did accomplish, the things that I pushed myself to get through. I can see it in the photographs on my phone of the hardest times, of the lonely crying nights versus the happy ones I have now. I can hear it in my own brain, in my thoughts, the way that my mindset has changed. The progress I have made is very real, and the people around you who don't want you to succeed will try to convince you that it's not, and will try to pull you back down under because they feel ashamed of the fact that they haven't made a change. But look at you, my friend, my love, my darling. You have changed. You have grown. You have grown and changed so much that it is a threat to those toxic people around you. And you are strong, and you are resilient, and you are overcoming, and you never give up. So don't let a few really rough nights or even weeks with people at home take that away from you. Because, babe, this is what we are doing this for. This is what this healing is for. Exact moments like this, where we are hurt, where we are beaten down, where we are staring our 16-year-old reflection in the face and saying, I'm not you anymore, and I don't need the darkness anymore. You don't need the darkness anymore. You are allowed to release that older self. Even when the people around you try to bring it back up and dredge up things that are irrelevant and hurtful and things that just simply don't matter anymore, we have to try our best to not let it penetrate our soul. So my advice, if you can, take walks. If you live in a walk-friendly area, take walks just to get out of the house a little bit, get your body moving, make sure you're exercising, even if it's in your house. Like I like to do like 20-minute cardio in my bedroom just to get my body moving. Make sure that you're eating as best as you possibly can. Take up a hobby. I love to come home for the holidays specifically because I can lock myself up in my room and read. Right now I'm currently reading Powerless by Laura Roberts. I just love to read, so do relaxing things. Take up a new hobby, maybe crocheting, maybe coloring, something like that. Maybe learn an instrument and reconnect with your family members. But before you respond to something that may be triggering, take a deep breath before you respond. Or maybe if you have the kind of parent that you taking a deep breath is like taken as an insult for some reason, just count to 5 in your head before you respond. When you answer immediately, you're answering emotionally instead of responding intentionally. So just take those few seconds when something upsets you. Call someone on the phone that loves you, that can support you, and maybe even understands, maybe has a similar situation in their home life. Make plans with people. Although it's cold out and I know it's really tough to want to go out in this time of year, go to a little restaurant nearby, have dinner with some friends, maybe have a cozy movie night with someone, or maybe bake some cookies. Prioritizing your self-care while being home for the holidays is really a really huge, important part of that, because being away, whether it's at school or, like I said, living abroad or even on vacation for an extended period of time, your focus is on independency in those times. Your focus is on yourself. So when you come back home and you have to factor in other people into your life, you kind of put yourself on the back burner. And that's where problems begin. You can't neglect yourself. You can't go back to neglecting your mental health. Just because you're in an old environment doesn't mean you have to be the old you. So while it is tough to apply these new ideas and these new techniques and coping mechanisms to an old environment, it is possible. And people far less capable than you have done it before. So have a cup of tea, buy yourself a nice candle, sit and read a book, watch a movie, and yes, do try to treasure your time with your family if you can. And don't worry, the holidays will be over eventually, and you'll be going right back to living on your own or living with roommates, and you'll miss home once again. So even though it can be really tough, try to treasure being home while you can, and remember that no matter what anybody tells you, your progress is real and you know it better than anybody. Your progress is within you. Don't let anybody take that away from you. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. This is something a little bit different production-wise for me. This is actually my bedroom back home, and I got a new camera and I'm so excited. I hope that the quality, you guys like it better. I'm hoping that the sound levels are okay as well. But yeah, I thought this might be kind of a more creative backdrop to do. This is my bed. I figured this would feel more like a friend talking to you. And yeah, if you enjoyed today's video and you'd love to watch some other content, I'm huge on personal growth, and it's a very close face-to-face relationship on this channel, so make sure you like the video. Please comment down below. I love reading your guys' comments, and I try my best to reply to every single one of them. You guys add some truly beautiful thoughts, and I want to build a community that helps one another, so let's do that if we can really try to. And if you want to stick around and see some more content, consider hitting the subscribe button. I do have a huge subscriber goal for the end of 2025, but right now I just want to focus on getting to 200. And yeah, like I said, I really hope you enjoyed today, and I know the holidays can be tough, but you can always come back to me any single time that you need some comfort, and I'll be here waiting for you. Thanks, guys.